and tag, because why not? Because my name, unique. Um, and I've been playing for like 2 years. I've mostly played Falco. I've known about competitive since like Wii U came out, and then we were like, this game sucks. This isn't what our childhood remembers. And then like we started playing Melee in college again. We're like, oh, this game's sweet. But like never really actually learned anything besides like wave dashing existed.
Mm-hmm.
And then started trying kinda in 2019. Started watching like top eights, and then got really into it with COVID and Slippy and stuff. And then now actually play it a lot. Um, yeah, my job is like I'm like a trader, so I basically like corporate play poker basically, and I have a lot of time where I'm just like sitting at home. So it's been a great hobby for COVID and then after COVID. So I like to just kind of keep pushing it as far as I can. I feel like it binds nicely with those other
I see. Okay.
dealing with probability activities. It's pretty similar.
Okay.
I feel like they make me better at each kind of. But this one's more like athletic, high octane. The other one's more like thinking and then
Mm-hmm.
multi-month,
Mm-hmm.
like let's buy this thing 'cause in 3 months it'll do this. It's a little different time scale wise.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What else can I tell you?
Yeah. So you're a Falco main, and what do you feel like's been going on with your Falco lately, or what do you feel like you're working on, or you're weak at?
Um, so I think in general, I definitely have very much sort of like a flowcharty type of approach to things. Like I kind of like I feel like part of the reason I never got better in college when we were playing all the time, besides wanting to, is that like I kind of need to like think of something, like write it down, practice it on my own, and then apply it kind of, and kind of fill out
Mm-hmm.
like the logic. Like I don't feel like I'm really good at stumbling on things. I'm good at studying and then like picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was trying to learn everything, I feel like it was going pretty well. And now I'm getting to a point where like I'll match it on ranked with like a random, like I'll look up after, I'll recognize the name that they're like a sort of a lower end PR player. They're like, I don't know, like make up like eighth in Ohio or something. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll go like, it's unranked, so who gives a shit? But I'll go like, 4-2 with them or something. Be like, oh, sweet. Okay. That person's actually pretty good. Um, and then like I'll just get completely steamrolled a lot of the time too. So it's like a little inconsistent. And I feel like lately I haven't gotten better at beating like actually good players or like being more competitive, but I've just gotten a lot better at stomping like randos, which is I guess cool in its own right. But you know what I mean? I feel like I'm not upgrading the things I need to necessarily. Um, and now that I'm getting to a point where I feel like I'm studying specific scenarios a lot more, like I forget what example I said to you. It's like, dealing with Marth Nair or something like in place or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a lot harder for me to either focus or like get fully proficient at those things. If it's something I can solve in solo practice, I feel like it's easier. Like when I wanted to get better at laser heights, which is, of course, like all these things are ongoing. It's like, I practice them all like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there while work's quiet or whatever. A lot of the things I'm working on now involve a lot more input from my opponent. And so like that's kind of where I feel like I'm hitting more of a wall and I need kind of a better system to get better. So like,
Okay.
things like shot at shield, very obvious, but like, or like different timings of like, I've gotten pretty good at buffer roll because you just hold it, but like when I have to figure out more precise timing and like kind of like soft predicting, confirming my opponent's options and stuff, it's like I feel like I've just hit a bit of a ceiling so far.
Okay.
But
All right. That's a great description. Thanks. Okay. So I'll screen share for you, and then we'll take a look at this first. You call this one easy. You said you have easy Falco, fast Fox,
yeah,
and Bones.
yeah, I just randomly matched with Bones the other day. So the other thing, I just got a new controller and I wasn't active for a few weeks, so I'm kind of feel like I'm like slightly relearning execution, but I mean, it's always a process.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I want to get better at is just like fighting like the fast. Yeah, like I think it's you who said the thing where it's like Falco can either be like first or maybe first or like sixth on the tier list or whatever. And I
Mm-hmm.
match a lot of those six on the tier list people. And like, the APM is kind of like useless, but like say I'm like normally like 475, they're like 600. And if I'm on my execution, I like clobber them. And if I'm not, it's just like, I accidentally jump out of shield and then like they keep full hop daring me and somehow I end up dying or something. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's like a specific archetype that I'm definitely working on. And I
Okay.
think just like that tighter execution will be useful. The strategy is also very useful. So this is just someone that's like fast, but like it goes relatively easy, just like random unranked. I also deleted all my Slippy files. So I have like 2 days, so I just pulled from that.
Okay.
But yeah, just to give you an idea, I guess.
All right. So you're the red Falco, right? Just double checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I'm kind of bad at the start here, but then I kind of
You're
get
bad
in
at
it.
you're bad at what?
Just at the very beginning of this match.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Relative
don't
to
worry
my
about it.
skill. Yeah, there's habits in it.
Everyone
Some
has
that are
complaints
better.
like that, but to be honest, it's usually every video will kind of show issues or
Yeah, like
whatever.
my same, yeah, things in my strategy or execution or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy. You did 4 forward smash attempts on that stock to end it.
Yeah, that's something I do when I'm like kind of like getting lazy, which I want to
Mm-hmm.
not do. I do a lot of good ones, but I need to not be dumb about it. I don't think I can jump during a side B like that.
Hmm. Okay, I have a little bit of an idea so far. Some stuff to talk about. That was good.
French forward smash is dumb because I was not going to roll into it.
Hmm.
One thing I noticed is that like I just kept setting up these lasers and like he wasn't challenging them. Like I'm not even fast following his full hops and he just wasn't challenging it. So I just kind of kept doing it.
Yeah,
But in
and
the second,
those are pretty good on FD anyway.
yeah, but in the second I try to fast follow it because that's something that I practice, but for whatever reason just like haven't fully implemented. And I do like a side B in a second. But like,
There's definitely so
yeah.
far there's like a lot of laziness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it is probably unintentional because I think you might not be aware of the way certain situations work or like can expand sort of into other situations. And it's sort of like I think basically based on like your current tech skill and knowledge, kind of like what you're saying where you kind of hit like a not like a cap, but you're kind of like slowing down on like improvement and stuff. It feels like you're kind of at a point where like you have fully actualized all of the current tools that you have and you're sort of like doing your best to put those tools together in a way where you can win as effectively as possible. And so it's sort of like in situations where you don't really know what to do rather than kind of like you'll just sort of pick something and go for it. If you find like a situation like a little ambiguous, like I kind of lasered him at this range and I don't really know what's going to happen, so I'll just try a forward smash or something like that, or I'll just try you did like a full hop down air and he was shielding like from the very beginning and you still went for the down air, and it's kind of like if he was better he would have just moved out of the way, and a lot of times people will just shield the laser F smashes, and then suddenly this situation where like it wasn't really bad because sometimes you got a forward smash or whatever, or you got a down air sometimes, those turn into guaranteed loss situations where you literally will start losing games and sets and stocks because you did this thing. And so I think that sort of when that sort of starts happening, that's when you have to sort of take a step back from kind of like trying to win each match, because it's like at least based on that one match it feels like your current style is very much like win oriented, and sort of focus on situation oriented play instead of like it's okay if I lose these bunch of situations as long as I make sure to outplay in these other situations that I'm like specifically working on. So like you were talking about how you need to like study situations a lot rather than just kind of like pick them up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of these situations you would, so far at least, you would do well by sort of theory crafting possible responses from your opponent and like possible counterplay to it, because it's definitely like a moment of like, well, now I'm in close and we're kind of fighting, so now I'm kind of gonna just do something, and it doesn't look like you're really trying to like, okay, if I can bait out this move, I can punish with this. If I can bait out this, maybe I can get into this situation. Like, I'm not seeing that, like, thought process as much so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to point out some specifics here. It was definitely, there were some in the last game, so. Okay, that was good. Okay, that was good. That was okay.
I go to wedge way too much. I've just been trying to. I know it's not ideal, but I just kind of stand there /laser so I can like
it's
find
okay.
data on
that's like a
actions to do.
that's
So
just like a really
intentional,
separate
but...
thing you can work on later. Edgeguarding Falco is always just a read anyway, so you can't really guarantee much. Okay, not much has happened so far. Alright, let's see what happens. Okay, that was good. Okay, once again, not much has really happened. Kind of just getting hit. Okay, that was good. Kind of an interesting match. It's kind of been like each person is kind of like, here, I have an idea, and then the other person is just kind of like, oh, your idea completely thwarts and destroys what I have. And then it's like, then it resolves, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, there's not a lot to talk about in that position. Oh, you put out. Okay, that game was not super useful. It was just kind of like, each person would throw out a mix-up and guess completely right and win. It was like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like I just get stuck in these situations where I'm just like, oh, I can shine here, miss the timing. Oh, I can shine here, miss the timing. Like, people just love to hit me with CCable things, and I'm trying to shine, and I'm just missing the timing, and I'm just like, I get hit like by 3 aerials. Especially, I mean, both spacies, but.
Well, yeah, that happens a lot.
You know, they'll do like a non-fast fall dare, and then like I jump at the wrong time, and then I'm trying to shine at a shield, and just get hit. I'm like, I can do this 10 out of 10 times on a computer. It's like, how do I bridge this gap? You know, being able to do it in game, and that's like frustrating. You know, it's like I need to try to make it. I need to put on training weight somehow in between unranked and Uncle Punch or something. I don't know.
Yeah, what I've been telling a lot of people recently is like you kind of find an opponent that's like worse than you, so you don't really feel like very pressured while you're playing. Find someone on unranked or whatever, and then sort of autopilot the rest of the game, and try really hard to sort of force these situations where you can practice reacting to these situations. Because so I was actually talking with Android Zero about this last night, is that he has really clean tech skill when he's completely alone, like on the screen, and then when he's comboing, he also has clean tech skill. But then if his opponent hits him, his tech skill is like awful, like, or if he gets put into an unfamiliar situation, his tech skill is bad. And so it's kind of like for instance, like his outer shield stuff is like kind of bad or whatever. And that's kind of what you're talking about. And a lot of times practicing something in solo practice, like you've already narrowed down everything to this one point in your game. Like you don't have to get set up in your brain for like this tech skill. You're not like, oh, this is a situation, so I need to go here in my brain, find this tech skill, and execute it. It's more of like you're just kind of spending time in that one space already. And I think it's useful sometimes to get some more experience doing that from solo practice or whatever. But ultimately, like, it requires focused practice time, kind of like solo practice, in real games. So people kind of, they do this thing where they go, okay, I have my thing that I do in the game, and I just kind of do it. And then I have my solo practice where I focus really heavily on like one or two things. But a lot of times people miss out on the final part of that, which is playing opponents who are worse than you and sort of spamming or like hyper focusing on one or two tech skills like you would in solo practice. And that kind of is like the middle missing ground that you're kind of thinking of there. And I think a lot of people miss that part because like, well, when I'm playing, I try to win, but it's like if you're trying to practice, let's say you're trying to practice like fade back dares on shield, and being just barely out of shield grab range, it's like if you're just sitting there on doing it on a CPU with an infinite shield, doing it over and over again, that can be useful. But when you get in a match and then you just keep overshooting dares because you know that's what wins more often or whatever, you're not getting the practice that you need, you know? So a lot of times, like, if somebody's practicing, like, ledge dash shine or something, I'll just say, okay, every time you're on the ledge in a match, every time, just ledge dash shine, you know? Like, don't think about it. Or every time you're on somebody's shield, do, double shine wave dash down if that's what you're practicing. And just sort of, like, you have to just really heavily force and focus on it in matches before it'll become part of your, like, I want to win and I'm playing and now my hands do this thing, you know? Which is where you're trying to get to eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, how is this? Yeah, okay, so like, I don't even really know what to say here. You're not really watching what's happening here. You're just sort of like, alright, I'm gonna down air here. And it'd be really nice if he was in this position. And he's just not. And then when you land, he could have punished you for it. But he didn't. He's way over here. So then immediately going for this kind of shows that you're not really watching, like, what he's doing. This is kind of just like, oh, if Fox tries to punish my down air, maybe I'll hit him with this up tilt, you know? But it's not... like, there needs to be an effort to try to win situations in, like, a more refined way. It's kind of like if you're going for situations that you know are good and sometimes you win out of them, that's only useful up to the point where, like, you do those things consistently. But then it's kind of like you're going up a mountain, and the mountain is kind of shaped like this. Like that, and you're headed up this way, and like you kind of like have this good stuff that you're doing, and this good stuff got you here, but now you're kind of on this like flat area, and the reason is that like you're not looking for this extra level of like consistency. Like you're like, okay, so the stuff I'm doing so far got me to here, but doing this will only get you to this point, and you won't be able to go further without like trying to play in a way that maximizes your consistency more. Does that make sense? I kind of want to hear what you have to say on this, or what you're thinking. You also forward smash too much in general. The forward smash is really good, but it's also something to work in more later. Like you really want to focus on your other moves and then kind of add forward smash. But anyway, what were you saying?
No, I think one of my biggest problems is there's periods where I'm hyper focused, like periods meaning like 15 seconds or something, which feels like a lifetime in game. And then something confusing or unfamiliar or unexpected happens. Maybe it's like a weird check error or just like a weird hitbox interaction. I play paper, they play rock, but they use the rock better, so they win anyway. And then like I completely lose focus. And I think that's what happened there. Is like I didn't mean to land on the weird side platform, and I got that weird fair. And then like I did that dare because I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I did the up tilt because you just do it after the dare, and it's like I'm still in what's going on mode. And it's like most of my improvement, well, I don't know, but a lot of my improvements have come as I'm getting better at not breaking focus, basically, or like not being startled effectively. So I think that is a lot of it, but then there's just like there's obviously a ton more to it as well.
Yeah, okay, so like let's take this situation where you do this pretty good combo, then you're here, he grabs ledge, and you're just kind of like, I'm gonna up tilt like multiple times,
Yeah.
And so basically what I'm trying to show you is there's a trend here of like, is this what Mango's Falco would do against Leffen? Would Mango hope that Leffen misses his ledge option and spam double up tilt here? No, because you're just guaranteed to lose the situation. Even against this Fox. You're like, unless they mess up somehow, or they double jump aerial from ledge. And so that's what I'm saying is like, you have a lot of options that I'm seeing that are like good for a level. Like they're good for where you're at. Like you left all of these people here in the dust, and that's good. But like these options will not get you to here, they're not gonna bring you up to this, because by doing these up tilts or by doing like laser forward smash, you are putting the ball in your opponent's court. So think of like as a Falco main, I'm sure this is really easy to understand, but like basically think of like a Marth player, and they just stand there and shield grab.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's stupid. But then you play it and you lose to it at like a lower level, and the Marth is like, hey, like my punish has been getting a bunch better lately, and I keep shield grabbing these people, and like I'm doing pretty well. But then they kind of get into that groove, and then they're like, all right, I'm kind of slowing down. I can beat these people below me really well, but now that as soon as I'm playing better players, nothing works. And they're like, well, I don't want to give up my ability to, beat these lower level players. But in order to get better, they kind of have to hang up their shield grabs for a while and say, okay, I know these are good at beating lower level players. They still catch top level players pretty often, but I'm going to put it away in the pursuit of options that don't give my opponent control of the situation. Because if you're shield grabbing, ultimately you're hoping that your opponent, unless you have some kind of a read or something, but usually you're sort of hoping your opponent does a bad option on your shield and kind of gives you this opening. And as effective as it is, it's not going to bring you to the next level of play, And so that's kind of where you're at, from what I can tell with Falco so far, is that you're kind of at a point where you have these options that kind of work if people are kind of messing up, or they kind of work if people aren't as good. And that's good that you develop that. This game works in layers, and so like let's say it's a year from now, and you're like a top 50 player, top 40 player, something like that, and you're in pools at a major. You're gonna be using all of these things against like your first couple matches in pools. Like you're not going to be playing against them using these complex little dash dances and spacings, because they don't deserve it. Like they're not going to play according to these assumptions at higher level. So all these things you're doing are useful, but only versus lower level players, and you kind of got to like start pushing past that a bit more and say like, okay, like how. And I think playing against some players who are better than you and like trying really hard not to focus, not to do a lot of your habits, I think could be pretty useful. Okay, that was a really good shine by him. Sounds good. Okay, up tilt there is fine. It's a 50-50. So okay, so here's an example, and my Falco was kind of at this level like a few months ago also, and so this is sort of like you have like your laser F smash stuff, and then you kind of have your stuff like one level, like you have your laser F smash, up down air up tilt stuff that it kind of gives a lot of control to your opponent. And then you kind of have like this second level, like this is one level above that. And if your whole gameplay was always like this, like I've seen little glimmers of it, if your gameplay was always like this, you would probably be like, let's see, where's my cursor? You'd probably be like here or something like that. If it was all the stuff you use, and so you'd be like, oh, this is great. Like I do like this dash back. I do like laser dash back dash in there, and like people get baited and I'm hitting them with stuff. So this is like, because this is like, okay, there's more thought that goes into this. Like think of the amount of like, I want to give you a feeling for like what a good thing is, kind of, and it's like you can tell it's more loaded with info. So when you do laser F smash, there's no info there. It's just kind of, I'm reading that you will dash basically out of my laser rather than shield or full hop. And so in this situation, you're like, okay, great. So doing this laser dash back, this is an okay laser dash back, because the issue kind of with this is that the spacing on this is a little bit, this is a little bit of a tangent, but just like
this. Can I talk about it for a second, actually, because I think it'll set the context better for you.
What was that?
I was just asking if I could talk about how I think about lasers a little bit.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Because really what I would like to do is set up like that unreactable laser, and then like, either dash in, immediately attack, or dash forward, aggressively dash back, dash in, or like, a third level, laser twice, dash in, or laser dash back, dash in, or whatever. And I find that especially on the new controller, I don't feel very precise in my horizontal placement. And I feel like I'm playing less of that game than I would like, because I just end up kind of in like a random variable of where I am. But ideally, there's games where maybe I'm just more in the zone or whatever. But I get a laser at a dash length. I late nair shine, get 70%, get another combo or something, kill them. Next time I get an opening, I laser, and then I dash forward. They think I'm going to attack again. I dash back, I dash in, and I kind of rotate through these like laser dash mix-ups, and it works really well. But when I can't set up that laser, or like effectively set up that laser, like if they whiff an aerial dash length away, it's the same mix-up effectively, right? As if I got a laser. Then I get really flustered, I start being dumber or whatever. It's like, you know what I mean? So I have a lot of ideas in my head, but I feel like it's harder for me to like, if I don't just happen in the exact situation I want, then the quality of play drops a lot of the time,
I see. To be honest, at this point where there's a lot of the game you don't understand, I don't think that's too big of a deal, because it's just a result of being confused and you're trying to process those things that have happened. If you ever reach like a top 20 level or something and that's still happening, that's probably like something really big to like work on. I think I've heard KJH say that he had kind of a problem with that before, where like if something goes kind of wrong or weird, it'll kind of throw him off and he'll be kind of processing it after the fact. And I could be wrong about that. I feel like he might have said that at some point. But I definitely know that players struggle with this pretty often. But I think the level you're at, you don't have to focus quite as much on stuff like that. Of like, how do I overcome being flustered when I make a mistake is not like your biggest weakness. A lot of it is kind of, you can learn more. It's like if you're playing tennis or something and you're like, oh, like my ankle rotates slightly suboptimally, and then I I start thinking about it and I, fail or something, and it's kind of like, yeah, that's not really something to worry about when you're first getting started. You mostly just want to focus on, like, being able to aim the ball and stuff like that, and, like, being consistent. So, like, I just wouldn't worry about that too much for now. But that does give me some information on, like, why you might have lasered at, like, this spacing, which is, like, an overcommitment, basically.
Right. If I wanted to laser that close, I want to be even closer and then immediately, like jump shine or something. Like, that's what I would say.
Yeah, so this is just kind of a weird range where... And then, the thing is, if you land a laser this close, dashing back this far doesn't really make sense either. Because... So I want you to start thinking more... Like, I want you to start thinking less about what mix-up you're doing and more about what your opponent is going to do that will make that mix-up work. So this is a situation where you kind of are like, okay, I am going to jump in laser or whatever, and, like, let's just say you slightly spaced it better, whatever. But you are not reacting here to what your opponent is doing. And so remember how I was saying there's that whole, like, if you're shield grabbing, you're giving your opponent control of the situation thing? So this isn't a situation where you're giving your opponent direct control of the situation. This is a situation where you're giving equal control of a situation. Where you're going to throw out a mix-up, and your opponent is allowed to do a mix-up, and you're just going to kind of deal with the result. And so this is another level of, like, you want full control of the match. You're never going to get it because your opponent will put up resistance, right? But you want to fully control. So your ideal way to play the game would be to let's say you're playing an opponent and every 3 seconds, they run up smash, and that is the only thing they ever do. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to be doing, like, laser, dash back, dash in nair against an opponent like that, right? What you would do is you would just count to 3 and shield, and then punish their up smash out of shield, and you would 4-stock them every game. And so that is your ideal way to play the game. You don't want to be doing these situations where you both have equal control, you're both actionable. Those are situations you default to if your opponent has crossed a bunch of thresholds where they're not going to give it to you easily. Because it's like, basically, by doing a situation like this is a concession by you. You're saying, I tried to outplay you in every way I possibly could, and I can't figure out how to do it, so I'm gonna gamble on this. And as you can imagine, that is not extremely consistent or effective. Like, sometimes it will work, but it's not going to give you the consistency to beat good players every time, Like, Mango beats Cody every time. Is that because he just guesses right at rock, paper, scissors over and over? Absolutely not. He is playing situations where he can outplay cleanly, and he wins consistently because he is taking control of situations and outplaying in those situations. So the issue with something like this is, like I said, is you're giving up control. You're both actionable here, and you're basically, like, let's say you didn't shoot your laser at all, okay? Mm-hmm. And you're just in this position in neutral, and let's say he was crouching for, like, 3 seconds, and you've been dash dancing for 3 seconds. Going for this down air or nair wouldn't necessarily seem like a very smart option. Because it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna kind of throw this nair at you, And so what would have been better here is, after you do this laser, the purpose of this dash back is not to get out of Fox's, like, jump nair range. If he takes this laser and then just nairs at you and you dash away like this, you'll just get hit and die. So you're kind of making an assumption that he's not going to do that, which is fine, because you're threatening with your dash dance. But you have to understand what you're doing, because when you dash back in right here, he is trying to defend himself from your imminent attack. And like, let's say instead of this dumb down tilt he up tilts here, he would have hit you out of this. Because you're not demonstrating that you're outplaying. This is a gamble. And so ideally what you would have done here is you do this little dash dance. The purpose of this dash dance should be to bait out an option from him. So let's say you did this dash dance, and you see that he's not doing anything yet. Oops. And so you're like, okay, he's not doing anything, so I'm going to keep dash dancing. Then he throws out this down tilt while you're over here dash dancing. That's a free dash in down air. And that is a situation where he has no control except for his SDI, because he's stuck in a move. And you won the situation because he is committed to something, he is in a completely vulnerable state, and you can react to that. But in this situation, you only won basically because you kind of got lucky of he threw out this move, but it was the wrong move, and you managed to do it. So do you understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense?
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like, it's definitely something where like you should be trying to bait things from your opponent that allow you to cleanly whiff punish, especially against worse opponents. You should be looking for like a sense of consistency.
Mm-hmm. I think I force a lot of threatening mix-ups that lead to them kind of doing what you're saying, but the fact is that I often am not actually like I'm predicting, but I'm not confirming. I'm just kind of rolling the dice after suggesting they do something, but I'm not actually reacting to whether or not they play the game, right?
Exactly, yeah, because like the purpose of that bait, like, and this a really common one is laser fox turnaround up tilts, and you do dash back, dash in, down air. That is not a mix up. That is a confirm. Like, you do the laser, you dash back, you confirm they up tilted, and you reactably down air in. And so that is much clearer of a win than just doing dash back, dash in there. And you'll get so many wins out of doing like a laser dash back, dash in there blindly, that it's really easy to be like, man, that's good. But it's like 50% of the time good, and you don't want to be a top 10 player going 50-50 with a pools player. You want to be crushing them every game, and you don't crush people every game by rolling the dice.
Yeah. I think a big problem for me is that I do definitely do that sometimes, like that level of confirmation. Not nearly enough, obviously, but it's like, I think a big challenge for me is like, how do I stay in that hyper-focused state? Because I feel like I've gotten much better at 3-time, as you'd imagine, but like there's a million miles to go. But it's like, how do I not fall out of that state? And more importantly, because top players mess up all the time. Like, just talking about execution, there's a bunch of other distractions, but then they're just like, okay, and like they keep going, and it's like, I think that's a big challenge for me outside of all of the more like bullet point things of like, do this thing better. It's like, how do I freaking stay on my game,
Okay. So, kind of like I was saying before, the goal is to have not on winning, but have a single-minded focus on, I am practicing this thing, with like, sorry, got a hair in my mouth. With the with the complete, you want to completely throw away everything else for the sake of this. So let's say your goal is to trick your opponent into throwing out a move, then like with lasers and dash dance, then confirming it and hitting them in the face. So what I would want you to do is I want you to go into a match and say, all I'm going to do is laser and dash dance, and maybe aerial in place, and try to convince my opponent to throw a move out so I can reactively hit it, and just do that. And you're gonna get hit by a ton of dumb stuff, and they're just gonna. But that is how you practice it, because the thing is like, protecting yourself is really important in a match, and like if I'm playing like, let's say I'm playing KJH in a match. If either one of us chooses to do so, we can slow down the pace of the match, and the other person cannot force it. And that's really important. Like, protecting yourself is really important. And so if you're trying to play against somebody, and you're like, okay, I want to bait out this person to do a move, and then you're getting hit out of it, because you're kind of waiting a lot, that's okay. You need to learn how to deal with those situations where you're kind of waiting for your opponent. Because that's how neutral game works at higher level, is you're trying to keep yourself safe, you're trying to bait out your opponent. What is your opponent trying to do? They're an alternate version of you. They're trying to keep themselves safe, and they're trying to bait you out. And so you kind of get this little dance of like, come on, like, you gonna throw something out, and you're both, and it looks, kind of like a real life fight where both people are trying to get the other guy to swing. Nobody wants to just rush in and swing and get punched in the face, And so, if you can't protect yourself while trying to bait something out, then there's no, like, you don't get to access the real game anyway. So it's okay to focus on one thing at a time. Like, I am going to try to bait this person out and then whiff punish them. And you're like, while I was doing that, I kept getting hit by this other thing. Protecting yourself is this completely very important but completely separate part of the game. And while you're practicing baiting people out to whiff punish them, it's completely okay to just throw it away and, like, get hit by everything, as long as you're focusing the thing you went there to practice. And so what happens is, like, I a lot of times like to sort of, like, make analogies like this, where it's kind of like your gameplay is kind of like a rubber band ball. And what you do is you consciously apply, like, one rubber band, but then, like, it takes the conscious application of this one rubber band, where, like, you are practicing this one specific thing, and then after you kind of have consciously practiced that for it's now just part of the ball. Like, it's just part of your style.
Yeah,
and you no longer
need to. That's a nice analogy.
You no longer need to think about it. It's just there, and you're like, oh yeah, I have a rubber band ball full of rubber bands. Whatever. It's not like you know every rubber band in the ball. It's just a bunch of things you put on, and then you go, now it's time for this rubber band, and you put that on, and, like, you know exactly which rubber band you just put on the ball, and you're thinking about it. But then eventually it kind of gets, pushed down. It becomes kind of just part of the ball of rubber bands, and so, like, it takes conscious focus on these specific points of your gameplay, and once you have consciously focused on it and gotten more experience of, aha, I can do that here and I can do that here, eventually it just kind of integrates into your I want to win gameplay. And then once that has happened, you go, okay, I no longer need to consciously focus on that. I am going to consciously focus on a new thing. I'm going to add a new rubber band. So...
That makes sense. We're having fun.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's see if anything else kind of happens here. Okay, spot touch shine. Okay, he dies. Not a big deal. Okay, let's go to this last video here. Okay, so it's you versus Bones. That'll be interesting to watch.
I do find when I play someone a lot better, I feel like I do a lot better after a game or two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that really means anything, but this was game one, and
okay,
I was pretty overwhelmed. But that makes sense because he's Bones, right?
Okay, yeah. So check it out. Look what happens. You don't have any control here. This is watch, laser. Nice. I hit him with the laser. What am I gonna do? Just nair in, you know? Like, you didn't bait anything here. There was no, like, aha, I've got you. It was just lasering and, like, you know, nair might work here, you know? And that is what I'm trying to help you to, like, sort of see that, like, you probably should be doing less of that and trying to focus on specific wins. Like, let's see, how does he get this opening?
Well, he just CC shines me.
Oh, no, yeah, he got this jump here. Okay, but, like, take a look at how he's playing this situation. So, okay, so he gets caught here. And Bones is certainly not perfect, but I just want to point out, so, like, here. So he's getting this laser, and I feel like in this situation, you would have probably tried something. But he's going for, like, a sort of, like, consistency against you. And that's why he's doing this. He doesn't just, like, try to go for you right away. He goes for the shield. He tries to bait something out. Good choice by lasering him. It kind of makes him stuck. So he goes, okay, I'm going to get out of the way and reset. Like, he's trying to find something kind of consistent. When you get this close against another Falco, a lot of times it's just, like, time to go. So he just sort of makes the read there. But, okay, so let's see what else happens
very bad at, but that makes sense.
Then he confirms it and gets the kill. Okay, and so you come back and you're invincible for a little bit, which is good, but your invincibility has now run out. And it's like, okay, so how are you going to do this? Like, kind of, it's like you want to be able to, like, in an ideal world where we were all super geniuses, you know, you would want to be able to write an article about why you won a neutral interaction. Like, you want to be able to talk about, aha, see, like, right here. So, like, if I was in this situation, probably what I would do is well, it's kind of hard because I don't really know the exact reactability of everything you guys are kind of stuck in. But at this range, I'm kind of worried about Falco short hop back airing out of shield. So I kind of like to move to, like, just right in this range and see if they do it. And then if they don't, I'll laser and start pressuring. And if they do this back air, I go great, and I get a free opening. If they don't do the back air, if they try to wave dash in, they usually get hit by my laser, and then I'll dash JC Shine. If they move away and get hit by the laser, now we're just back in neutral. So I gave myself opportunities to win if they did something dumb, and if they don't do something dumb, I'm trying to protect myself so that we can continue playing the game. And that is, like, a higher level perspective than, like, I'm here and I'm going to wave dash at you and, like, shine a bunch, you know? And it's like, you are invincible at the start of it, and, like, you're just kind of like, man, I kind of want to get him. Like, I want to, like, get my stock back, you know? But because you're not putting reasoning into why you deserve it, and he is, so watch what he does. He goes, okay, here I am. I'm going to protect myself.
He said, where he, like, gets out of there, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, I'm shielding. I don't want to get hit by Invincible Falco. He sees you shine. He knows once he sees you shine that if he wave dashes away, he's safe from anything you do, including this wave dash approach. So he wave dashes away. He goes, okay, is he going to throw at anything dumb? He sees you shine, and he goes, okay, he's probably... And this is a little bit of a gamble by him, because you could have, like, short hop back aired here. But he's, you know, eventually he's kind of like, okay, I think he's kind of pressuring in place, and he goes for this. So maybe, you know, from his end, this is, like, a slight compromise, like maybe a 20% compromise, where, like, he's in some sense gambling a little bit, but he has, like, a kind of better idea of, like, your positioning and stuff. Whereas, like, he's kind of, and when you're trying to hit him, you're just kind of like, man, it would be great if these shines hit. And it's like, that is not going to get you wins, because the wins happen when you outplay and outsmart people, you know? Not, I sure hope these shines hit. And everyone does it. Everyone does, I sure hope these shines hit. And it's bad when no matter who does it. And so because of that, you go from a situation where you're coming back fresh, you're only one stock behind, he's at 30%. If somebody's at 30% in your Falco, you know, like, if you hit a nair or a down air, like, his stock is probably over, you know? And that's why you're going for this, but you didn't put enough effort into winning. Every single neutral interaction, ideally, will have a bunch of information that goes into winning it. And you're not going to immediately make the jump to, like, oh, yes, neutral interactions, you know? Like, you're not going to be, like, super complicated and refined immediately. But I want you to realize that, like, doing this might hit some people, but will prevent you from getting to a higher level of play. Ideally, you would be trying to bait something or or do something in a way that doesn't allow yourself to be vulnerable like this. Because then before you know it, you're down 2 stocks. You know?
Yeah.
All because of that. It was just because of that. All you had to do was play a better neutral and like try to win for real, and you might have just taken that stock and it might have been even now. So now you come back, okay, what do? Okay, you're like, man, I really want to get him now. And so, okay, so then what happens here? I think this is just an example of you not protecting yourself, or that was weird. You like crouched, it looks like, and then you jumped out of it. See, like
I got hit by a laser, and then I
Oh no, that's a jump squat. I see. Okay.
Yeah, I got hit by a laser, and then I kind of freaked out, which is like a kind of a tech/game plan thing. Mm-hmm. I'm like really good at acting out of laser stuff. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my phone was ringing, so I wasn't sure if that affected things.
No, you're good.
Yeah, like against a bot, like I'm really good at like, you know, power shield, take laser dash, that kind of stuff. In game, I just really want to hold down, and then I have no plan after that, or I want to jump and then get hit by the laser and have no plan, which is something I need to focus on and fix. But you know, I wouldn't be winning the game otherwise. But that's, I think, why I got hit there.
Mm-hmm. And yes, sometimes you will just get hit, and this kind of looks like one of those situations where, like, sometimes the other guy is just going to throw out a dumb move and it'll hit you. And there's not a lot you can do about it, especially in the Ditto.
I mean, I haven't been very threatening with my defense anyway, so I've probably given them a lot of information where that was fine to just attack on, right?
Right. Yeah, no, he probably had an idea of why he was going to get you with that. Okay, so now you're here. Okay, he did that same nair, actually. I'm really proud of you for hitting him with the up tilt right there, because he did that same bad nair. And this is, you know, the same lesson I'm giving you, this is what I would say to him here. He's just cocky because he's up 4-1. But, like, I would tell him, like, right here, like, where's the win? You know, like, he's not, you're just nairing in, buddy. Like, I would tell him the exact same thing here, and that's why he loses this, is because he wasn't, there's no thought, there's no, like, explanation of why.
CC shined it or something, too.
Yeah, like, there's no explanation on his end of, like, okay, why do you deserve to win this? You know, you have to ask yourself, why do I deserve to win it? And, like, well, I'm Falco and my moves are good is not an excuse. It's not a reason why you should win it. Sometimes it'll work, and same with Fox and Marth and everybody. Sometimes you win because your character is strong, but that is not good play. And so him going for this nair here is 100% the type of thing that I'm telling you not to do. You know, I don't want you to do this because the other Falco can just hit you, and you don't deserve it. You didn't provide any evidence that you deserved it, and so you catch him out of it, and you get a combo, and you could have killed him.
Yeah.
Okay, you get the edge guard. He should be dead. Nice. Okay, so he comes back. Your goal should be to protect yourself for a little bit. Okay, what did you do here? That was kind of interesting. So this is good protection. Then you catch him lasering here. And you go down like this. So the issue here is that, once again, he could have just up-tilted, you know? He could have up-tilted or back-aired. He's actionable. Like, there's no reasoning that goes into why you should be winning this. It's just, he's here, I'm gonna hit him, and it'd be really nice if I won this situation. What would probably be better is, like, you know, maybe you jump off like this, and then instead of going for it, you know, you double jump away, or a really, really good mix-up here, and I don't expect you to be doing this, but a really good mix-up here is something like, you know, double jump, wave land off, down air, because you're kind of baiting this out.
Yeah.
Or a shield drop double jump.
Like a jump pass turnaround laser or something.
Yeah, no, like, what I'm saying is, like, so right here, I'm just talking about, like, if you've already decided to do this short hop, you know, you have to keep in mind, like, alright, I have decided to do this short hop, my opponent is actionable on the ground, they can react to this short hop, so all information that Bones has right now is telling him that you are going to short hop and you're going to down air onto him. Like, if you were this Falco and this Falco jumped like this and you were a 0, you would probably think he was gonna, like, late down air you, you know? And so by giving him that information that he's like, okay, I think you're coming down with late down air, the only thing you don't want to do is exactly what you just told him you were going to do. You're like, I'm about to jump off the platform and aerial you. And he's like, okay. And then you jump off the platform, and if you actually aerial him, you just let him prepare for that. So yeah, he doesn't hit you with the right move because he does back air here instead of up tilt. I don't really understand why he would do this back air here, but he goes for this back air here instead of up tilt. And it's basically like, it could have been anyone's response, you know? He could have shielded, he could have done whatever. Everyone is going to have their own response to this. But if you give someone preparation time and you're like, I'm going to jump in, and they're like, okay, you don't want to still go for it. You want to, you know, waveland off, go for a timing mix-up, waveland up here, come down on the side platform, get down with a laser, restart neutral. You want to outplay. That was it's like a gamble. You know, how about this? Is this an outplay? Have you found a way? Have you found, you know, a chink in his armor, and you're going to abuse this little opening to completely destroy him? No, you see him on the ground, and you're like, I'm gonna dare that. Like, I'm gonna dare this guy so hard, you know? And it's kind of like, that might hit some people, you know, but it's not ultimately very strong. And he counters it with the down tilt, and you probably lose because of it. Okay, you don't, but and I know we're kind of, you know, beating a dead horse here or whatever, but I still want to I just want to hammer this in for the last few minutes.
Or still, yeah, no, I think it's good. It's helpful.
So you do this laser and you go for this down air. This is acceptable only because you kind of have to go for this read forever as Falco, like laser instant down air in, and like if I was like, so basically, don't worry about it if you still do this sometimes, but at the same time, I would have liked to see more of like an outplay attempt, you know? But this isn't that bad. This is very bad. You laser, dash in, dash back, like, yo, I did it, it's time to nair, and it's like, he's not even there. Like, this is what happens when you roll the dice. When you play the game and you roll the dice, you roll the wrong thing, because you're doing this and you're like, sick. And, like, literally at this point in time, I can tell. Right? One sec. Right here?
When the laser hits, I look away from the screen.
Yeah, as soon as you hit this laser, you're like, sick. It's time to dash in, dash back, dash in, short hop, nair.
Recorded segment, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, that is not, you know, outwitting someone. It's just a thing that you know is kind of a mix-up, and you're gonna do it. And if you had waited to see this right about here, instead of doing this aerial, you could have reacted and done an approaching laser, you know, and lasered like right in front of him, like right here, you know. And then, now he's in this high pressure situation where you laser, and then you do a dash in, dash back, and this time he thinks, because you just hit him with laser in instant dare, right? So he might be thinking, okay, I just got hit by laser dare. So if you had lasered here instead at this range, and then you do like a dash in, dash back, he might up tilt, giving you the outplay where you jump in and you down air him and then you take the stock, you know? And you're like, aha, like there we go. Now I outplayed you. That is the feeling. I just want to like smash that into your head, that like, that is the feeling you need to be chasing every time you play the game. Is the feeling that you super outplayed them. Not that you hit them, but that you were like, aha, I got you to whiff, and now I smacked you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these dash sequences are going to be a really useful tool for improvement as a microcosm of my game, because I think I'm so focused on execution on them, especially with dashing on this new controller, that as soon as I'm like, okay, this time I'm dashing right in, or I'm dashing in and back and then in or whatever, I'm just focused on doing the sequence, and I'm like not paying, especially against like a Marth, you know, this is very useful. If I see them dash back, I should just like, you know, dash length laser, and now we've reset the same situation and they're closer to the corner or whatever. Like that's what I'd like my brain to be thinking. And I think I can just focus on watching my opponent during these segments or whatever. And that hopefully will be a very organic way to march towards what you're talking about. I think.
Just like, yeah, so we're pretty much at time, you know. So I just to reiterate the idea is that in an ideal world, you want to kind of complete control of the match by your opponent makes a mistake or they throw a move out, and you get to just whiff punish them for free. And so sort of getting better at convincing your opponent to throw out these moves, convincing your opponent to kind of give you the game is what you should be focusing on, rather than going for these mix-ups or like a laser forward smash. Don't try to just force it and kind of hope that it works out. Try to like legitimately, and you'll notice as you practice it more, when you get this feeling of like a legitimate outplay, it feels really different from the feeling of laser dash back dash in nair, they jumped into it, woohoo. You know, it'll feel like I got you. You know, like I lasered, I made you up tilt, and I killed you for it. And it feels a lot more satisfying. And that is the feeling I want you to chase as you get to sort of, you know, your next level, like up here.
Yeah.
To ask you on that, so
Yeah.
So one way to kind of force some of this is like playing better players. I feel like I get a lot more out of it, because just like if I'm being an idiot, I just get destroyed, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing these stupid things, I should stop. And like it forces me a bit on the right path. Certainly, I got to do my homework and like try to do well, of course. How do you think I kind of compensate for that if people are just picking really, like if they're playing against me really lazily? Like, is it just I have to analyze games and look at every single scenario and be like, am I thinking here, blah blah blah?
No,
or like,
so
do you have
okay.
like a framework in mind?
Yeah, okay, so that's actually a great question. So what I want you to do
Win no matter what, you know what I mean?
is I want you to
win the right way. You know,
I want you to play against players much worse than you. And
okay.
what you do is you go, okay, I'm just going to bait stuff out, and they're going to throw out a dumb full hop nair or something, and I'm going to kill them for it, right? And I want you to get in this habit of like, I'm going to bait you out, you throw something dumb, I hit you for it. Bam, bam, bam. And you get this habit down where you're just wrecking like 4-stocking players worse than you. You know? That 4-stocking if you hit all your punishes, you know? Like I want you to get in this zone of like, this is easy. I can bait you out all day. Then after you get that down, you start ramping up the level of skill of the players you're playing against. And you say, I'm going to do that same thing against you, better player. And you try to do that, and it doesn't quite work. Then you try to adapt it, and you say, okay, I need to get trickier. I need to get better at convincing people to throw out dumb stuff, you know? And so I want you to get the feeling against worse players first of being able to bait stuff out and punish it over and over and over. And then start, as you start playing against better players, try to, you know, lift a heavier weight every day, but you need to get your form down first on a lightweight.
Yeah, I'm sold on that. That makes sense.
Okay, excellent. All right, if you have any extra questions or whatever, just hit me up, and I'm down to answer it. I'll send you my Venmo or whatever right now. So, all right, man, have a good one. It was great talking.
Yeah,
Later.
great day.